Hello everyone. Has everyone had a good lunch? And how about our folks online? Did you friends have a good lunch? I'm really happy to start kicking off our afternoon session today with our annual unsession. This I think is what do I say online? I think this is the 14th time that I've been doing this unsession. And the concept is sort of like an on-conference, except crammed into an hour. And everyone gets 3 minutes to come up and share or showcase some tool or resource or approach or idea or very, very cool thing that you might happen to be doing. And there is a bit.ly link there that's bit.ly unsession 2023 that you can click on and come to this doc and take your spot. And you'll see there are some people who've already signed up, and we're going to go down the list. So watch your spot, and when it's time for you to come up, just go ahead and come up and you'll take your spot. If you need to log in, I'm sharing the whole screen, not just one screen. So if you need a new tab, this is a web browser, so you can just go to the next tab. And Donna, I hope this will work. But I think people may switch from different things, so I'm sharing everything. And I'm going to kick us off today with a couple of things that I want to share with you. And maybe somebody can time me, and I'll try and go super fast because I want to get to everybody else's stuff. So good, thank you. The first thing I want to tell you about is a very cool project that I'm working on that we call the DEI collaboration. And this project is there are 3 co-leads, me, a friend from California Virtual Colleges, and a friend from Cal State LA. And we just got together and started talking about inclusive teaching practices. And he uses Quality Matters, I use Oscar, obviously, and he was going to develop a whole thing for Quality Matters. And I said, well, then let's collaborate and let's come up with something free and openly licensed and that you can use no matter what course quality rubric you use. And so Peanut Butter and Chocolate were born to be together. And so we now have 68 institutions from around the world that are participating in this project. We have 50 plus individuals in 12 writing groups, 54 I'll actually show you really quickly, actually on this one. These are all the participating people, the different institutions and people, 12 writing groups, 3 to 4 people in each writing group, instructional designer, online instructor, and DEI expert. And every month we work on a sprint, which we take an inclusive teaching practice, adapt it for online, and we write up a bunch of stuff, and then we share it. And monthly we get together and share it with each other. And what we are going to be doing is producing a tool that will present the inclusive teaching practices depending in any course quality rubric that you happen to use. So if you use Quality Matters, you'll be able to sort the inclusive teaching practices by Quality Matters standards and categories. If you use Oscar, you'll be able to do it through Oscar. If you use COLT or any of the other main course quality rubrics, you'll be able to use that. So I just want to, if you're interested in this, you can find out information about it on the 2 links that I shared. These are my co-leads here. If you're interested in collaborating with us, you can fill out this form down here. There's a Google form on the second link there. And if you want to participate in this or just be kept informed, you can do that. Then the last thing I want to share is the DLE project, which I don't know where the link is to that, but if you go to bit.ly /DLE templates, and it's all lowercase, you will find, here it is, this one, you will find the list of templates that have been mentioned that are available now as Brightspace zip files that for any instructional modality. So asynchronous, high flex migration, synchronous, face-to-face, and hybrid. And we're now working on some non-credit ones. So there's lots of information in this folder. You can come and check out the templates that we've designed. All right, let's go to the first person. Marjorie, where's my friend Marjorie? And if you are a virtual person, please unmute or let your facilitator know that you want to unmute so that you can speak. And I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work because you're going to have to share your screen, but we're going to figure it out. You're not virtual.
Hi, I'm Marjorie Baslicki. I'm the instructional designer at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, and signed up to just share. Make sure they can hear you. I don't think there was a problem with that. A little bit about what we do. We have I teach the online instructor training, but I chose to share a little bit about the advanced online instructor training. It's a little bit more involved, and it's a reflective practice, which is trying to get our instructors to figure out why they're doing what they're doing. In the regular online instructor training, it's 3 weeks, cram-packed. They're a student, but then they're building their own course. Not so much, they're more of a student with me in the advanced online instructor training. They put together what they have, then they go think about, why am I doing it? What is it? What's the purpose that I'm wanting my students to do? Want to take them out of their comfort zone so they realize there's still more to learn. Oftentimes we get our instructors go, well, I've taught online before, so I'm just going to put it up there without giving that thought and explaining why they do what they do. I want them to think a little bit more holistically and thoughtfully. We have gotten a great response back to allowing them the time to think about what it is they're doing and why they're doing it. So oftentimes we ask them to reconsider, oh, you've done it this way for a while. What if this? And they get feedback, yes, from me, but a lot of times their feedback is coming from other instructors who are taking the online instructor training along with them, but not in their same discipline. Because if they're in the same discipline, they go, oh yeah, that looks good. But if they're unfamiliar with it, then they have to actually critically read it, think about it, and offer feedback.
1 minute and 32 seconds. All right, Stan, it looks like you're up next. And I think the best way to do this is for me to click on your links, I think. But Victoria or John, can you unmute him?
Yeah, so actually you don't need to click on the links. I just shared a variety of resources. I was hoping to see me, because I have what I have is in my hands.
Okay, hang on. I'm not sure how to do it.
Stop sharing. So
Fine. There we go. There you are. Now, how do I get you to show up? Pin. There. And then
Alex, we still see your sharing.
Can you see Stan?
No, just you have to stop sharing, it looks like.
I'll stop sharing. There we go.
very good. So I'm Stan Scrabbit. I'm the Director of Instructional Technology and Design at Dean College in Franklin, Mass. Still have a great affinity for the SUNY folks. So thanks for, hanging out with me and let me hang out with you, more importantly. So ChatGPT in the news. I took a moment to write a book. So 80 ways to use ChatGPT in the classroom. Basically trying to dispel a lot of the myths, a lot of the angst that instructors are having, and provide ways that you can actually use this as a teaching assistant and inviting ChatGPT in the classroom. For you kind folks, I'm going to provide a digital copy. So I'm going to drop yes, I did use ChatGPT to help write the book because I used actual prompts and the results and I put it in there. Anyways, offering a free book. So there's a link to that. So if you want to get a digital copy, have at it. The other links is a presentation that I've been taking to various campuses and also a bunch of prompts. Feel free to check those out. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. Okay, now how do I unpin him? Valerie. All right, who's next? Let me go back to the unsession. And we've got Travis Matson. Travis, is that you? Yes. All right, so
I don't have anything good either.
all right, so let me stop share and view speaker and all right, someone talk me through how to do this.
It's my background. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to apologize to Stan for all the angst coming from my field about ChatGPT. I'm an English professor, so our discipline is apparently done now. We can go home. I'm a little nervous talking about this after the student panel and hearing the impressions about discussion boards, but over the winter I taught an entire course using only discussion boards. I teach technical writing, and I'm always looking for new ways for students to encounter authentic audiences for their work. One of the things I've found with online classes is that students feel isolated and definitely would prefer to work very much alone. And so I'm trying to, fight their best and worst impulses and get them to work together. And so the students posted, they had workbooks, which were basically written response quizzes. They would post the answers in the discussion board, and Brightspace includes some rating tools where, I made a rubric that corresponded to a 5-star scale, and the students would respond to each other's quizzes and give a star rating. There's also upvoting and downvoting. Please don't use the downvoting. It will just crush the students, I think. So I wouldn't use that. But I also had them write and post their longer form documents into the discussion board, and they would receive feedback from their peers that way. So it was kind of open class in that everyone sees everything you're doing. There was never a situation where they're only doing something in secret for me. And I think that it worked well because they needed to do some self-evaluation to think about, how am I doing? You need to know how you did in order to evaluate somebody else's paper. I'm used to, students sort of respond to a prompt and they send it to me and they're sort of like, your move, how'd I do? And they have no sense of how they performed. And incorporating this peer evaluation is one way to get them to do a little bit more reflection after they complete an assignment to think about what would make this a quality submission. And so I call this a feature request because I would like to see, we've heard from, there's an interesting peer review tool that was discussed this morning by Norm, I think, right? And we see some pack back things, but I'd like to see like native rubrics that students can use on other students' work, inline commenting and annotation and things like that. So let's go flood the Brightspace communities with those requests. Thanks.
Next up is Chrissy Mitchell. Chrissy, are you there? Are you online, Chrissy?
Yes, I'm here.
Right, so let's see if we can get you to come up to the podium. Where are you, Chrissy?
It won't let me start my video.
Tracy, give me 1 second.
Sure, no problem.
Oh, there you are. I see you.
Cool.
All right. Shall I pin you?
Go ahead.
Pin. All right, go.
Cool. So Dutchess Community College, we got a Title III grant, which included some money for revamping our teaching learning center, which is something that we haven't done in the 15 years that I've been here. Generally, our teaching learning center was focused on technology. It wasn't so much a teaching learning center as it would be at all of your campuses. We were just the technology center, teaching with technology, that type of thing. So the Title III grant allowed us to hire in 4 faculty members who are on release time. I have a faculty coordinator and 3 faculty innovators, they're called, that are handling the pedagogical side of things. They all have a focus. We have a focus on DEI. We also have a focus on OER, and we have a focus on high impact practices. And then the coordinator is keeping them all together. We have launched a website, which you can see the link. You don't have to click it, but you can see the link in the document. Feel free to check it out. And our first big series of workshops is called the Who Are You or Who Are series. There's 3 of them. We have Who Are Your Students, Who Are Your Colleagues, and Who Are You? I think our coordinator may have borrowed this from another place, but it's really great. We did the Who Are Your Students workshop a few weeks ago, and we had our IR folks come in and show us some dashboards on demographics, and then we had some discussions. All of the materials from that, all the materials that we can share openly are on our website under high impact practices, and then there's workshop information. We will be putting out all of our materials freely from those workshops, so you guys can steal them and use them at your campuses as well. We have our Who Are Your Colleagues coming up next week, and they're going to be doing like a dating style thing and setting up appointments, and people are going to talk about stuff, and it's going to be really cool. So we're actually doing stuff now with pedagogy that we hadn't done because I was I was the only one, and I was focused on technology. So it's really great. Thank the federal government for some money, and we'll be talking about it more probably at CIT. Thank you.
Thanks, Chrissy. All right, Brandon Murphy, you're up next. How do I unpin? I don't know how to unpin her. Do you know how?
Yeah, so it's in the corner.
Oh, remove pin. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. And now how do you see you?
Should be on speaker view.
So you're below. There you are.
Everybody, my name is Brandon Murphy. I'm the coordinator of the Teaching and Learning Center at the SUNY College of Environmental Science and Forestry. And I'm just going to talk real quickly about our one button series. So that kind of came up this morning in the presentation about video, when discussion about videos. So we installed 2 one button studios. These are self-service recording studios that are available to faculty, staff, and students to use. There's 2 different studio setups, but the idea behind these is they're a space that people can just come and book. You bring a USB drive, you hit a little button, it records the video, you hit the button again to stop it, and then you have an MP4 video that you can then take and do whatever you want to do with it. Most people are putting them up onto our Kaltura media system. So I'll talk about the 2 different setups, but the cool thing is that you can also use these directly in Zoom live. So you can present from either of these studio setups too, for remote presentations and conferences and stuff. So the Lightboard Studio, so these were really big like 10 years ago, but so this is a one button studio just to sort of show, this is one of our instructors presenting that you can record whiteboard content through the Lightboard. It's flipped over. You can integrate PowerPoint images over it. And so this is sort of really for some of our faculty in the real technical fields. This is nice because this is a way that they may be teaching, for chemistry and those types of subjects where there's visual materials. And then our other one button studio is more of a traditional green screen. So kind of what we saw earlier, where you can just overlay and record yourself. You can change what you're green screened over, so you can present over slides. With the touch of a button, you can shrink yourself down into a corner. You can change that in the midst of the presentation. And what's really been kind of cool is the different uses. So there's been a few people who have been doing like traditional lecture stuff, but supplemental videos has been really big. So that one of the instructor was sort of doing just short videos of technical content that students get hung up on. We have faculty who's using it for OER content production next week. Faculty who are using this for feedback when students do homework or an assignments and there's a problem that a lot of students had an issue with, they can just come in, record a short 2-3 minute video explaining and working through the problem and get that to all the students. And then it's also been we have partnership with our digital storytelling studio on campus, where they're producing content that's going to the Planet Forward competition. So lots of cool uses of it. Happy to talk to anybody about it more if you want to hear more about it. There's me.
Donna, you're up next.
Okay. I'm just gonna get into- Do you have the document up here somewhere?
Yep, the first tab.
The first tab, thank you. Oh, second tab, okay. All right, I just want to log in. here. It's not going to. It's going to that one. Okay, what I'll do, I won't even bother showing.
Donna, I'm so sorry. Can you please share your screen so that the virtual audience can also see?
I'm not going to bring it up because somebody else is logged in here.
Well, you would have to like log in.
Is it going to let me do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It would.
Right. Okay.
And then we still have to share your screen.
It's not going to let me log in. this
Oh,
one.
that's
Okay,
admin
yeah,
login. Yeah,
yeah.
sorry. So let's go back here and then let's go back to Zoom. And
Like,
do you,
I'm not even gonna bother sharing the screen. In the document, I won't waste any time. In the document, I actually post some of the images of what we have done. We went from, we were in cohort 1. So we were learning along with everybody else. We were trying to build different things as we went along. And one of the things that we did, we used one of the asynchronous templates that Alex's group had done. And we changed that to meet our needs because a lot of our links from Blackboard were not coming over, obviously. And we had, special menus built in the courses and the courses were automatically loaded. So we tried to take some of our resources for the college and actually put them into this asynchronous template. Well, after we went through 2 semesters with this module that had all of our links to DegreeWorks, to the ACE Tutoring Center, every resource that we had on our campus, we started adding things and making changes. Well, because it was a template, anybody that used the original template now didn't have any of the updates. So they had to wipe out the module and add the new module, and it was just a nightmare. So what we did was we decided to take 2 resources and we created our nav bar on our login screen so that in the nav bar, it had the drop-down menu of all those same resources that we linked out into when we had our single sign-on platform through Blackboard. So we created that. And then we also created a, like I said, to replace the module that was having to be updated constantly, we created 2 widgets. We have one widget that's for all of our campus resources that's loaded on the front of our login page. And it's also it's embedded in every single course. So this way, anybody that had the old resources module now can just delete that. And now that widget's at the bottom. And we created 2 separate widgets, one for just our campus resources. And then we created a separate widget for our online learning resources. So we just found it would be easier instead of cramming it all together in one big widget. And this way faculty can turn off whatever they don't want if they don't need the online one in their individual courses. Okay.
right. Hey, everyone. So my name is Danielle O'Brien. I will start with the second thing that's on my list. And I know we're supposed to be sharing cool things, but Ryan and I are actually up here to ask for your help.
Super boring. What we're asking for your help on, there's nothing behind us, so it's not helpful at all. The rules and regulations that we've been having some conversations about during this conference that were put out, I don't know, 4 weeks ago and then updated again maybe 2 weeks ago or a week ago or so. We're going to have a conversation in Doodle around that topic on Tuesday. So if you're a member of Doodle, you should have received an invitation for a conversation we're going to have on Tuesday. We did some brainstorming at lunch and came up with some issues that we see with those regulations that they could have on our campuses. So we're hoping that you will take the information that we've put out there, take a look at it, see what information you may be able to add, and then we'll have a larger conversation about it on Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. So the document that's actually linked in there is not just for Doodle folks. So we're hoping that anyone who's here at the conference that has concerns, questions, needs some clarification, any of that kind of stuff, go ahead and put it in the document. You can either do it anonymously, or if you want to put your name or your institution next to it, we can make sure that, you know, we're collecting all of the information, and we're working closely with Kim and Dan to make sure that all of the information that we collect gets to the right people at SUNY too.
Can I leave now?
You can leave now. Thanks. All right. I have one more thing though. Alfred State is hiring. So if anyone knows anyone who is looking to join an awesome team and wants to help really create our teaching and learning center on campus, we are looking for qualified folks, and it is an in-person job, so not remote, but it's a pretty awesome place to work. Our faculty, you've got to meet them on the past couple of days. They're pretty awesome to work with. So that's my plug. Thanks. In Town USA. That's right.
All right, so Robin is next. Robin, are you here in person or online?
I'm online, Alex.
Hi.
Hi. And can you click the link, the second link in the Google Doc for the presentation and share that?
I can try. It is here.
And I'm going to ask you to navigate the slides too for me, please.
Which
Yeah,
link?
the MTech in brief, second one, next one down. Thank you. All right, everybody. Hi, I'm Robin. I'm going to talk about the SUNY Exploring Emerging Technologies for Lifelong Learning and Success, otherwise known as MTech. Next slide, please. Next slide, Alex. And just there's my contact info if anybody wants to reach out. I also want to mention that Nicole Simon is currently on a sabbatical and is kind of gearing up to kind of take over as director of MTech. I also don't want to forget Chris Marchese and Cherie Van Putten are also critical members of the team. Next slide. This project's been created by all of SUNY, so that's just a smidgen. Many of you are aware of it, so I don't want to go into it. If you're not aware of what the project is, it's an online learning opportunity through Coursera, where participants read and participate with the materials. They use a robust wiki resource that has 500 freely available tools, tutorials, and resources. There are instructions on how you can create artifacts using those resources, like creating videos that was talked about this morning, creating captions, et cetera. You can earn badges and also a Coursera certificate. Next slide, please, Alex. It's a wiki, so all the great resources that people are sharing, please put it into the site. Next slide, please. This is the URL, suny.edu/mtech, EMTECH. Next slide, please. This is the really critical new part. We have been partnering with Arizona State University's Shaping EDU team, kind of the New Media Consortium's reincarnated group. And we have had the severe benefit of partnering with Ruben Pentadera of the SAMR model. And we just recently submitted an IITG, hopefully getting some additional funding to recreate the whole project. It was originally formed as one of the very first IITGs. So please help us expand this. Go to the MTech website, look at the About menu for the call for partnerships. We would love to have many more partners of all varieties included. I think that's my last slide, or maybe there's just one more. Yeah, if you also go to the site, there are many flyers and takeaways that you can share these with your faculty, students. How do you pick the best tool for the objective that you have? That's kind of the critical component. And our collaboration with Arizona State University, we hope to work on something similar and hope to partner with Mark Greenfield and the SUNY initiative to identify the VPAT information and also the privacy and security information that it goes together with all of the tools that are in the wiki. About 2/3 tools and 1/3 tutorials / resources, how to create a great video, etc. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Robin. Okay, now I'm lost. Who is next? Share. If you are here in the room, come on up.
So we signed up Andrea without really telling her ahead of time as part of the team here. So we're talking about our open Zoom support hours, which it's not that really not that innovative an idea, but it's been very successful for us. And we've seen kind of for other folks around our colleges and like talking with our colleagues that sometimes it's not very successful at all when you have these open hours and people don't really show up. If you can click on, Kate set up the link there. Yeah, if you click on that link there, you can see these are a whole bunch of the statistics we've gathered over the years. This actually started, as you might suspect, it started right after COVID. And it was kind of just a practical solution to how are we going to get folks supported, get them going with online learning, faculty who have never done online learning before, get them going on Zoom. We had to troubleshoot Zoom through Zoom, which is always interesting. And so it has the factors that seem to have made it so successful in terms of the number of folks that continue to come into the open support is that it's very consistent. We've kept it very consistent. The times we have it Monday through Friday, 10 to noon and 1 to 3, except on Friday afternoons because nobody comes in on Friday afternoons. And also just we've kept consistent sending out emails, announcements that have the link on it. And we are finding, especially kind of our most lost faculty, if you will, that their way of finding us was always to just look in their email and find this email link that we kept sending out all the time. And we would actually very early on, we noticed this pattern where we would forget a day and we're like, why are our numbers down? And then I think there was one day that Andrea, so it was like 10:25 or something, and Andrea sends out the email and we suddenly get this burst of people coming in. So it was like, it kind of works as a reminder for folks too. And yeah, so it's been very successful for us. We have some folks who only come in like once a semester, and then we have some folks who come in like pretty much every day. And some folks, it's almost a social thing, but that works too, and it builds community. So anything else? Okay. Okay.
All right. And Hope, I think you are up next. Is that right?
I am. And you can just show the SUNY Online Unsession. That's fine. I mean, you can show me too. That's fine. Hi, everybody. I have a globe. So do you have the document? No. Yeah. Can you, oh, you want me to share the document? I can. All right, I'll share the document. Okay, here we go. So the document, the unsession document. So my name's Hope Windle. I am with the SUNY COIL Center. COIL stands for Collaborative Online International Learning. And you can go to this link to find out what COIL is all about. Basically, it's an opportunity for your students, your professors' students, to connect to students in another institution somewhere else in the world. And so it's a high impact practice. It's a practice you don't need the chat GPT because people, I mean, I guess you do. I mean, you could if you wanted, but actually, who in the room right there knows already about COIL? If you have your hand in the air, if Kathleen Borby's still there, ask her. And Robin, who is just on, she had a COIL intern work with her, and Ed Beck, who is now our home. Go Oneonta, go Chilton Reynolds and Ed Beck. SUNY COIL is now housed at Oneonta, which is just thrilling. And I just want to say that I know I've talked about COIL forever, and the opportunity to just go from your class to Brazil or South Africa or somewhere else in the world is absolutely possible. And AACNU is now taking on COIL Virtual Exchange as a modality that they are putting money towards. And so when we think of middle states and who we align with, AACNU is saying that this particular practice is something that all students should have the experience of. And it's not just a harebrained idea that I'm doing, but it's really happening all over the world. And governments are putting big money towards it now, in Japan, in the Netherlands, in South Africa, in Brazil, in Colombia, in Australia, all over, in Canada. So it's coming on your radar. It's coming like a tsunami. It's really exciting stuff. And I want you to try it out. And really excited to say that with Alex's help, we're connecting COIL to the Oscar rubric. It's going to be a tab connected to Oscar. And we have a group of instructional designers throughout SUNY who are going to be working on this. So I'm really excited to mention that. And here are all the SUNY campuses that have participated in COIL and or currently participating in COIL. We've had connections to EOP, so pre-college, as well as connecting to classes that need accreditation that has to do with cultural awareness, I mean, which we all need, but some classes need that specifically. It sounds like I'm getting the hook. And we're really excited that Jamestown and Stony Brook are new members. So with that, thank you.
Thanks, Hope. All right, who is going to be next? No one signed up next, so I'm going to start calling on people. For my virtual moderators, is there anyone in there in the chat that has expressed any interest in taking the mic and saying something cool that they're doing?
Alex, I haven't seen anyone. So if anyone chimed in the chat and I've missed it, please re-chime in if you want to take a turn at this.
Raise your hand if you want to say something that you're doing that's cool. I am going to call on people. I'm trying to see who are our participants. So you know, be ready because I am going to start calling on people. How do I stop share? Okay, and then how do I unpin, remove spotlight? Did I do it? No, here. Bye. Did I do it? Okay. And oh my God, this is like crazy. All right. So who's in the room? Josh, where are you? Okay. In a second, come up here and talk about Herkimer. In a second. No, you come. I was talking about you. I want to hear what's going on at Herkimer and then you can come. Okay. What's going on at Herkimer?
Well, Hi, everybody. I'm from Herkimer. I'm Josh. So a lot of things have kind of been going on at Herkimer. You'll note that Bill Pels is not here. I am the new Bill Pels, much shorter, much handsomer, and less snarky. But Alex said it, not me, Bill, if you're watching. Our team has also changed as well. We also had another Corey has been added recently since October, I believe. He's the new Tabby. That's right. We've, like I said, lots of transformations. Since then, though, like with the new team, we also had the new DLE. We had the sunsetting of Blackboard. So everything for me was new. I trained 70 or so faculty. We had about 30 plus training for the new DLE for those faculty, and everybody's on board, except for maybe a few who had retired. So with that said, I am going to leave.
Hi, so just really quick, Stuart Ingalls from University of Buffalo. This is my first session here, and what the hell, since we're sharing, just my experience of what kind of got me into all of this has to do with something called the ulnar paradox. So I teach anatomy, clinical anatomy on a Friday a few years ago. I had students that were having an exam on Monday, did a review, everyone's set. Yeah, Dr. Ingalls, we're set, we're good. I wake up Saturday morning with my coffee in hand and check my computer. I already have 2 emails from students saying, Dr. Ingalls, I don't get the ulnar paradox. And I'm standing there saying, this is one of the most complex things in anatomy. I can't explain it over email. So I grab my phone, I prop it up, I start recording. 3 minutes, me groggy, 2 sips into my coffee in my pajamas, put it on YouTube, send it to my 130 students saying, this should hopefully clear it up. Got emails back. Yep, perfect. Thanks very much. Forget about it until a year later when I'm looking for resources and I Google ulnar paradox to see if there's anything new. And I had this existential moment where I'm staring at the screen for about 10 seconds. And then I said, those are my hands. And I click on it and it's like, oh yeah, I did do this video last year. It was at 5,000 hits on YouTube and was the #1 hit on YouTube. So if anyone has their browser open, goes to YouTube, types in ULNAR paradox, scrolls down a little bit. I don't think I'm #1 anymore, but I'm still up there. If you see 2 hands, I'm at 140,000 hits, over 1,000 likes from something that was meant for 130 students, and a lot of inspiration. Just put things out there, because you never know. That's like the most meaningful thing that I'm probably ever going to do. Took me all 3 minutes while I was half asleep and in my pajamas. And since I'm at the mic, just one last note. Great conference. Last night I got back to my room and I sent a love letter to my wife of 15 years, the mother of my 3 children, telling her how important she was. She responded back saying how meaningful it was, how it made her cry. So yet another use for Chat GPT to be able to help you out in your everyday life. And if any of you ever talk to my wife, please don't repeat that.
God. All right, so let's see who I'm looking for someone else to come up. Is there anyone virtual, John? Anyone that wants?
No one has volunteered.
All right, friends, I'm going to call on somebody else. Dean, what are you guys doing?
Trying to survive the migration. I mean, so Dean Dyer, Jefferson Community College. I'm effectively a one-person shop there. So, it's trying to move through this whole process. I appreciate very much all of you in cohorts 1 through 3 that have suffered for my benefit. And I look forward to continue learning from you as you go. So it's Kathy, or no, Donna, you just shared about some of your resources, which is something that I've been trying to figure out the best way to do it. So thank you very much on that.
if anybody has been doing anything with integrating Microsoft stuff, I would love to talk to you later. So, all right, Danielle, awesome. Thank you. All right, I'll wait for you, Alex.
Okay, so next week, March 16th, if you're interested in learning a little bit more about K-16 solutions, Terry Keys and I from Monroe are going to be presenting just on our process of how we used it to migrate courses, archive courses, and replace all of our USIA ensemble links with USIA. So we'll be talking about that next week. The registration link is on the document, and we hope you join us. And we're going to talk about our process. So if you're interested, feel free to join.
Thanks, Alex. Great conference. Hi, everybody. Just wanted to share, I have no visuals to share, happy to share later on that FlexSpace 2.0, remember FlexSpace is an acronym for Flexible Learning Environments Exchange. It's about a built environment, and it began when our provost many years ago said, we're spending millions and millions of dollars building and renovating spaces. Isn't there a way to share pictures? And this portal has grown into a full-blown community of practice. So if you were to Google flexspace.org, FLEX space, one word, and then you'll create an account and you'll be able to view all types of different classrooms. Now, what's exciting is we are now working on 3.0. Because our friends have told us, you know, this is a wonderful tool, but we don't have much opportunity to communicate with each other about an individual space. So we hope to, we're working with some developers, and we hope to have that feature added. And we still think it's a really useful tool. We are told it is still a very useful tool when you are designing, in particular, hybrid rooms, high flex rooms, a lot of opportunity to go in there and ideate. And last thing to add is that we now have what's called the FlexSpace Integrated Planning Pathway, which is an integrated planning pathway that allows you to start using the learning space rating system quantified data to judge, you know, what the learning potential is for a physical environment. And once you have that data, you can look at it in relation to your strategic enrollment planning on campus, help to really figure out what the priority may be for funding new rooms or new builds. And then you get your advisory group together and give everybody an account in FlexSpace. And I tell this every time I present, we have gotten very good at training our faculty in the Hunger Games, the budget Hunger Games, because if I win, you lose, and somebody doesn't get, you know, and that's not, this is, faculty have become the advocates for this because they're sharing with each other. They're saying, wait a minute, you're teaching in engineering, I'm teaching in the medical school. I want to do that with my students. And the conversation shifts. And we've heard this a number of times now, so it's a little bit more than just anecdotal. So thank you, and thank you to SUNY for supporting this project. It's really pretty cool. Thanks.
John, I thought I saw Shirley Cinecor saying she'd talk.
You did see that, Alex.
Hey, Shirley. All right.
It's okay. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. At our school, I'm at SUNY Sullivan. We've always had a very painful process on doing our syllabi. And I just wanted to show you, we're working on a new system of doing syllabus, and it is coming from, I'm going to share my screen quick. I can't.
You can now.
Okay. I just want to show you an example of what this is going to look like. This is all done online. No emails need to be sent. It's built into Brightspace, and it's also a searchable document. We can link all over the place to what we need, put in our course materials. It's a really slick program. If no one has ever heard of it, again, it's called Simple Syllabus. Something else that I wanted to share here was that we will be expanding our department. We're going to be adding one person onto our department, and she happens to be sitting in your audience, Ann Miller. So that, and just check out Simple Syllabus. It is a really cool product. And that's it.
Thanks, Shirley. All right, who's next? Meg, would you like to?
Hi.
All right.
Hi, everybody. Meg Benke. I'm a professor at SUNY Empire State College, soon to be university next week. I'm a professor in our emerging tech program, adult learning program, and our EDD. This is a shameless plug. My colleague, Christine Page, and team run a conference. That's the 8th annual LIT, Learning with Innovation Technology. It's a conference for school teachers interested in technology and also higher ed professionals. It's a one-day virtual. You can find it at World Wide Web .esc or esc.edu/LIT. If you were looking at the conference, the shameless plug part of it is if you're interested in graduate credit, you can get it through my program in instructional technology. So thank you very much.
Okay, who's next? Who's next? Anyone else want to talk? Do you have something you want to share? I'm looking at you, Simone. Yeah, you want to share something? No, come on up. Everybody in this room and online is doing something cool. I want to see what you're doing. Come on up and talk to us about it.
So one of the things that I think for a lot of you here, you're probably clueless as to where downstate is, or you know where downstate is on the map, but not so much as where SUNY downstate is. So we're working on launching our fully online MPH program, piggybacking off some of the lessons that we've learned during the pandemic, taking our lessons learned from working with HighFlex, what worked for our campus, what wasn't working for our campus. And so I look forward to interacting and learning from you all and making connections that are going to be able to help us get to where some of you are. So I'm taking notes and I'll be reaching out to a lot of you. I love what I'm seeing here and I'm looking forward to learning from you all. So
Alex, we are at time.
Sorry, John?
We're at time. We're past 2:30.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a friendly conference and we went we went long on the students, so I don't want to shortchange the unsession. But you know, I'm happy to move on to the next activity also. Is there anyone online virtually that would like to share something cool before we wrap this session up?
There is one, Kate Bohan.
Okay. Go ahead, Kate.
Hi, how's everybody? This is Kate from New Paltz. Am I able to share my screen?
Are you able to show your video?
Sure.
Yes, you are, Kate.
Okay. Camera on.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
So we've been working on since Brightspace, obviously. We've been working on a foundational certification training for our faculty. And what we tried to do here was to create a model course in Brightspace and also have a course about Brightspace. So for our first two modules in Brightspace and pedagogy, we've leveraged LinkedIn Learning. So we pulled in their content, and for the third one, which is accessibility, I'm also the campus accessibility officer. We've created that from the ground up, so we're pretty proud of that one. And we've tried to leverage some of the cool tools in Brightspace to also showcase them for faculty. So every module has self-assessments as the faculty go through, so they can test their knowledge, and then it ends in a module test for each of the three modules. We also leverage the competencies and the awards functionality. So as faculty pass their module tests, they're awarded these cool badges that my colleague Rich created. And once they've earned all three badges in the three modules, then they get a certificate that they can download, print, save, and that kind of certifies them to teach online. So this has been a pretty good learning experience for us to actually put a full course together in Brightspace for Brightspace. So we figure we've covered all the bases now. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Kate. And let me see if I can get back to the gallery view. All right, so it's a little bit after 2:30, as John has mentioned to us, and John really does like us to keep on time. So I am gonna, that Google Doc that is off of the website, the Unsession 2023 is open. So if you spoke and hadn't written anything, you can go to that doc and fill it up with some links if you want. You can also, if you didn't speak and you want to share something, you can go ahead and put it in that doc. It's a collaborative document that we will have open for as a resource for the folks in who are in in this conference. So I thank everyone for sharing their cool things. I always say that every one of us in this room and online could lead one of the presentations here at this conference. We're all doing cool things, and so I appreciate you for taking a minute to share with us a little bit about what you're doing. We're going to move now into the recognition of our online teaching ambassadors, and I invite you to stay to see them be recognized for their enthusiasm for online teaching. It's going to take us a sec to set up for that, but we're going to do that in a second. So we'll be right back to recognize our online teaching ambassadors. Thanks, everyone.